to sanctify his name. Hello, this is Rabbi Yehuda Levin, and I just saw a very disturbing video clip of Bill O'Reilly, meshuganeh Bill, beating up on Sandy Rios because she sided with a conservative group, traditional family values, pro-biblical morality group called 1 Million Moms. She sided with them in their outrage that J.C. Penney, a large family-oriented firm, has decided to appoint Ellen DeGeneres as their spokesperson. And she is a militant homosexual or lesbian activist who's out and married and promoting her particular viewpoint, which they don't feel is appropriate for the Middle America family people who shops there. And because of this, meshuganeh Bill said, this is McCarthyism, this is outrageous, this is wrong, and beat up on Rios, who handled herself very well. Of course, Bill questions, why didn't any of the million moms come on to debate with him? And Sandy Rios answered, because they're busy taking care of their families and children and trying to grow normal families, Bill. And I'll say another reason. They don't want to be browbeaten or out-debated by you, because as I told Governor Mario Cuomo close to 30 years ago, when he first started pushing the homosexual agenda in New York, we're not impressed by world's greatest debater, because the Bible tells us that the greater debater was Esav, not his twin brother Jacob. However, that doesn't make Esav or Esau right. Jacob is still right, Bill. So the average mom doesn't want to come on and be browbeaten by you and interrupted. But let me tell you, Bill, you really ought to be ashamed of yourself. Because if you would have taken the time to research some of the things that Miss Rios did, so then you would know, as she writes in her piece on her blog, in California, public schools don't have barriers to distinguish bathrooms by gender. If a boy student thinks he's a girl, he can go to the girl's bathroom. You agree with that, former teacher Bill? No teacher can mention marriage in the context of husband and wife, Bill. You must call them partners. You agree with that, meshuganeh Bill? Boston Children's Hospital and transgendered clinics. They have a transgendered clinic. They administer medicine to children as young as 9 to stop puberty. And then when they're slightly older, they give them hormones to transgenderize the children. You agree with that, meshuganeh Bill? A school in Illinois advised students to try same-gender intimacy to see if they can understand what the homosexual lifestyle is all about. You agree with that, meshuganeh Bill? And schools are increasingly disallowing parents from opting out when they teach this homosexual propaganda or celebrate Transgender Day or anything else. You agree with this, meshuganeh Bill? As Miss Rios correctly wrote, we have opened our door to deviancy. We send off our kids to be indoctrinated. You agree with this, meshuganeh Bill, former teacher? Listen, Bill, if Tiger Woods was dropped by various sponsors and he was disallowed from being a spokesperson after it was discovered that he was a serial adulterer, were you righteously indignant and said, listen, this is McCarthyism. This adulterer has the right to earn a salary. By the way, should we go in the church and take up a collection for poor Ellen DeGeneres and Tiger Woods because they're being deprived of livelihood? If somebody says that they're not role models, they're negative role models, and they shouldn't be put in such a high-profile situation, meshuganeh Bill? Did you defend, just out of curiosity, did you defend your fellow Catholic Patrick Buchanan when he was removed from MSNBC? And now I'll get Talmudic. If you did, so why don't you defend other people who don't want, values? And if you didn't defend Buchanan, why are you defending Ellen DeGeneres? Or, Bill, do you then decide what ideas and institutions are kosher? In other words, high-profile homosexual activism is kosher, even though that impacts on society, and what is not, like the things that Buchanan says about the white race becoming a minority in America, or whatever other controversial thing he says. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm not getting into that. But I'm just curious, where do you draw the line, and do you become the arbiter of morality? Now, Bill, I just want to end by asking you the following question. Is Catholicism still your religion? And just out of curiosity, is it a pick and choose grab bag? Or does your church and her leaders have certain immutable and absolute standards and values on things like abortion, euthanasia, and yes, the act of homosexuality, let alone homosexual marriage, and this perverted, that's right, I said the word perverted, activism of fostering pride on society for what one does with their genitalia or with whips, and I can go on, but I won't. Courses on some stuff like this, even in elementary schools. As a former teacher and a bright guy who thinks and is arrogantly thinks he's a lot brighter than he is, Bill, which part of all of this don't you get? That these things have a negative impact, and you dismiss Miss Rios when the other side for years has been using the Anti-Defamation League and the ACLU and their homosexual organizations to browbeat and scare people in the media and in jobs, and many times to effectuate them losing jobs. That doesn't bother you, Bill. You just dismiss that. That's wrong, but you don't do programs about that, getting on the homosexual activists and trying to browbeat them, do you, Bill? Because the fact of the matter is, you're a squawk a lot, and you're sounding more and more like a chicken. A few years ago, Bill, you were correctly beating up on Glenn Beck for not taking a strong enough position on the homosexual agenda. Are you so craven, Bill, now that you're taking the other side, or are you afraid of the homosexual power brokers? Yes, even as it impacts on Fox News. I'm sure that the Catholic Church would call to you and other errant Catholics to be strong and come back to morality, Bill. As you get older, you're losing it more and more. You know, Sean Hannity likes to say he's Hannitizing people. I think that there's another word that can be applied to you. Your brain, Bill, has been homosexualized, and you need a little medication. Shame on you, Bill O'Reilly.